Welcome to you all. My name is Andrew Chung. I am artistic producer of London Symphonia, and today I welcome Mark Vuorinen. Hello, Mark.
Hello, great to be here, Andrew.
Excellent. So Mark is the conductor of our upcoming performance of Handel's Messiah. He is also the artistic director of the Elora Singers, and these singers are joining us as the guest choir and soloists for this performance of Messiah. So, Mark, you and I have known each other for years and years. I've had the absolute pleasure of performing at the Elora Festival with the Elora Singers on a number of occasions, and also within the regular concert season. For those of our listeners who don't really know the Elora Singers, could you tell us a little bit about this choir? So it's a fully professional choir, one of very few in Ontario. How do you choose the members for this choir?
Great. So the Elora Singers is one of the very few professional choirs in Ontario, and thinking across Canada, you can count them all on sort of both hands. This is kind of a rare breed here, and I think what makes the Elora Singers so unique and particular is that we are the only choir that's not based in a major metropolitan center where you think of most of our musical and artistic life taking place. We are based in the village of Elora, about an hour and a quarter northwest of Toronto, and it really is a village. You drive through there, and through much of downtown, you could be driving through kind of the 19th century. It's very quaint and beautiful, old stone buildings and so on. And the reason why it's there is we have this festival that takes place every July that lasts about 3 weeks. It's a classical music festival. It features the Elora Singers as the ensemble in residence. And so for 45 years now, this festival has been primarily a choral music festival featuring the work of these singers, but also inviting many guest artists, guest choirs, guest soloists, and other performers to the village of Elora for a 3 week festival in July. And it's quite an extraordinary time. It means that the choir comes together for almost the entire month. We meet about 1 week before the festival opening night to begin rehearsing, and we work together almost every day through that. What becomes sort of a 4 week period. And that is a really special time because it's a period that galvanizes the ensemble. It is a really intensive kind of creative period. We are working, like I said, every day, but not only every day. It's sort of like in the morning we'll have a rehearsal on a Mozart mass or a Bach B minor mass, and then in the afternoon we're rehearsing pieces for a concert with Laila Bialy, the jazz singer, singing back up with her, or the singers put on a big show called Unplugged every year that they self curate. They select their own music, and it's Broadway pieces, it's pop tunes, it's arrangements, and so on with a band. And so every day is very different, but very intense, and it's a really, really exciting period for us to be working with all these different concerts in very different genres. And then during the fall and winter, of course, we have a season like any choir, and our season begins sometime in October, November, and carries through to March. We have about 8 to 10 concerts there as well, where we're working more like an orchestra. We come together 3 or 4 days before the concert, and we rehearse intensively for those days, and then put on a concert. Then we don't see each other for a little while. So it ebbs and flows, the energy, and yeah,
Now,
work with
on
choir.
any given year, is the festival season in July, is that the kickoff to the year? So that would be you have the ensemble for the year, and then you kind of you bond and you get to know each other really
Right.
well through that, and then that carries throughout the rest of the season. Is that how it works?
Yeah, that really is it. Like I said, working every day together brings a kind of cohesiveness that is so important and so unique, I think, to how we're able to operate, because that doesn't happen during the fall and winter in the same way. We're kind of project based, and in the singers in the choir, they although we're focused in Elora, they come from London, they come from Hamilton, they come from Toronto. I think we have one singer who actually lives in Elora currently. So we all come together, from our various the various places that we live, and the various other things that each of these singers do. Some of them are teachers. Some of them are have graduate degrees in music and are working in universities or teaching in other capacities. Others have day jobs, that they do, and then sing in this in a professional capacity. So it's a wide range of people who
And
join
when
as
I've
well.
joined you in the summers, I get this sense that, like, I might show up for a concert or a rehearsal, and I'm like, okay, now I'm going home. But like the choirs had a morning rehearsal or performance, and then they have something else in the evening. It's like three services every day, that sort of thing. And it's
Yeah,
I can only imagine that just lends to that cohesiveness and the bonding amongst the players. I mean, the singers rather. And then when you're in front of them, I feel like you've got them on a string. It's just the most phenomenal thing. And they respond to you so well. Is it something that you look for, anything in particular, like versatility? You mentioned different styles of music, amongst
yeah.
choosing the singers. Do you look to kind of fill out that versatility, or each person has their own, special niche?
Yeah, well, a little bit of both. I think any singer who comes into this role has to be able to do many different things, wear different hats. And so, like you're going to see in Messiah, they sing as an ensemble. They sing as a 24 voiced chamber choir, the Hallelujah chorus, "For unto us a child is born," in really beautiful ways. But they also are equally adept at being able to then step out of that chorus role, step to the front of the stage and sing "Rejoice Greatly," the great soprano aria from Messiah, or "Why do the nations rage so furiously together," the bass aria sort of from Messiah, and be able to do that, right? So that's just like two hats, but also to sing jazz and to sing, popular music and to sing contemporary music. There's a real emphasis on new music that we have both in our fall winter season, but also in the festival as well.
Yeah, it's much like what we do in London Symphonia. I mean, we pride ourselves
Yeah,
on being able to perform with, early music sensitivity, and then we kind of wear that hat and then we put on something different, right? Whether it's jazz or
sure,
whether it's contemporary music, and variety is the spice of life. It's pretty great.
definitely.
Okay, so we're coming together to perform Messiah. So Messiah comes from 1741. This is Handel's masterpiece. It's composed in English. He ended up in London, I think 1712 or 11,
12, that's about right. Yeah, yeah. Early
right?
teens, anyway. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
how is this piece different than the operas that he composed?
Right. Well, in some ways, not that different, and in other ways, very different. So, as you said, he came into London in the early teens, 11, 12, something like that, and he came as an opera conductor, and he was writing Italian opera, a genre that was very, very popular, or becoming very popular in London, as a musical style. And so he was, writing these operas with Italian librettos, and largely using Italian singers who came from Italy, right? These famous kind of rock star musicians came from Italy to sing in London, and premiere these Handelian operas. The theaters were full of these, massive sets with lots of moving parts and machine, things that made move, clouds move across the set, and all these things that were very, very, very expensive, but very, very entertaining. And so ultimately, I think what happened was Handel found that he wasn't able to make a lot of money doing this, right? It became a very what's changed. Um, Handel, found that these operas were very expensive, and realized that he could write basically the same music in a different format, and that's the oratorio, right? The musical forms are not that different. There's an overture at the beginning. There are choruses. There are arias. There's recitative that tells the story. These are elements that are part of both opera and oratorio, but you don't need the set. You don't need to bring in Italian singers and all of the great expense that went along with doing this the opera thing. Handel was able to solve that by putting an orchestra on stage, putting the soloist out front, telling stories still, but doing so in a concert setting as opposed to a dramatic setting. And so that was the sort of the birth of his oratorio phase, which encompasses many pieces. The most famous of which, of course, is Handel. The other a great appeal to that for his audience was that he was now writing these in English, and so there was not the language barrier that might have existed for most of the audience of having to understand what was happening in an Italian opera.
He was a very savvy businessman.
He was indeed. That's
Yes.
absolutely right.
Yes. Now you mentioned the text. So let's do like I'm gonna give you a quiz here. Okay.
Oh no! Oh no!
So when I as an instrumentalist, when I'm performing Messiah, we play this unlike any other piece, essentially, right? Like
Right.
we know it so well, but I'm looking for the lead from the conductor who will decide how to accentuate the text. But sometimes the text is kind of elusive, and I think to someone who's not really up on their biblical scripture, it
Yeah.
can be like, kind of head scratching. So,
Sure.
like, quick overview, right? So it's in three parts.
Right.
Part one is about what?
Part one is essentially about the birth of Jesus. It is known as the Christmas portion of Messiah. Although all of these texts are rather than being telling the Christmas story as we hear it in the New Testament of the Bible and from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in the Gospels. They're all texts that are from the prophecies. So they're Testament texts from Isaiah, for example, that speak of this Messiah to come. Right. So we never hear the word Jesus or Christ, until part three. In fact, it's all sort of about the anticipation of Christ coming.
It's the
Then part
prophecy. It's the prophecy.
it's the
So this isn't
prophecy
like this
precisely.
isn't reporting on news that's taken part. This is the future. Yep.
Exactly. It's coming. It's coming.
Yep. And
That's
then
right.
part two.
Part two turns a bit dark. Part two ostensibly is about our the Lamb of God. It opens with this great kind of French overture esque um, a movement, the whole the Lamb of God, with these dotted rhythms, the same way the overture begins in the very first part of Messiah, and talking about how this prophecy has, or this being has come from from the prophecy in part one, and is now being subjected to the punishment, to ultimately to crucifixion. And so there's a very dark kind of turning of the tide with that first chorus, the alto aria, this very long and slow but absolutely gorgeous aria. He was despised and rejected of men. The prophecy, turning into this sort of turning your backs on him kind of thing. And then part three returns to this hopefulness, to the resurrection, to life and to light and to rebirth. And so we end with this beautiful kind of arc of drama from beginning to end.
Okay, here's your quiz. All right, so part one, what do
Yeah.
these mean? Okay. And he shall purify the sons of Levi.
Right. The most stunning chorus. This is actually one of my favorite movements of the whole piece. And he shall purify. So this is the prophecy of the Christ who is coming to save the world. Right. He shall purify us. We are all sinners. We are all, not worthy. And so Christ is coming to purify the nations.
Okay. O thou that tellest good tidings to Zion.
Again, it's part of the prophecy. Lift up your voice, a strength, lift up, not be afraid. This is all part of that prophecy of Christ coming, or somebody coming to save the world.
His yoke is easy. Are we talking eggs? What's going on?
Yeah, that's always the big joke about choirs when they're preparing this, his yoke is easy. It's of course not Y-O-K-E, or is Y-O-K-E and not Y-O-L-K, right? His yoke is over easy is the big joke in Messiah, and his birth and his light. So this is what ends part one. It is the final chorus that leads us into the intermission, and it is saying that Christ is going to come, put his yoke on us, and make it better for all of us.
Oh, and guide us,
And guide us, exactly.
Mhm. All right. And with his stripes, we are healed. We're into part two now, where it's a little dark.
Yes, yes. This is a big fugal chorus, and with his stripes we are healed. So part of Christ's role on earth was to be crucified, to die for mankind, for humankind, and so we are healed by those stripes, that punishment, that torture that he was forced to go through. It does get dark.
One last one.
Sure.
How beautiful are the feet?
Yes, that is again, it's, one of my favorite pieces in the oratorio. It is such a tender moment that the soprano sings, "How beautiful are thy feet." Again, sort of recognizing the beauty and the purity of this being who has come to save the world. It's a really extraordinary moment. We do this. We strip this down to just a solo violin and a solo cello, whereas all the other arias are accompanied by either full strings or violins as a section. And so it becomes a very, very intimate and really kind of a humble moment, I would say.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous moment. All right, you passed the test. I guess we'll let you
Oh, thank
conduct.
goodness. Whew.
So, originally, this was composed for very small forces, similar to what we're presenting. I think we've got 21 musicians on stage and then a choir of 24. And
Right.
from what I've read, the orchestra originally was, 18 or 19, and then a choir of 16, I think.
Yep, that's about right.
So what's neat about this production is that, as you mentioned before, the soloists come from the choir, and then they will just step out and deliver. Do you think that's originally maybe what happened, or I don't know? What do you guess?
No, I think he did have soloists, and that's certainly usually the treatment that we hear in this piece, is that a quartet of soloists, come and sit in the front of the stage and deliver the arias while the chorus does the chorus work. But I think it works really beautifully because Messiah is not like a narrative story the same way an opera is told, where you have individual characters, or the same way even the Bach Passions, for example, are told, where you have the evangelist telling the story and you have the role of Christ sitting on stage represented by a bass or a baritone. Um, we don't have those particular characters, and so you can choose voices then to fulfill, not the character but the role of that particular aria, and think of who will sing "Rejoice Greatly" and who will sing "Wide Are the Nations," and so on. So it's a really great. I mean, it's a really neat way, I think, for the piece to take place. You know, 10 or 11 or 12 different singers will come out and sing solos, as opposed to hearing four. And then they step back into the choir and resume their role as a chorus member. It's a pretty extraordinary thing, and it's pretty humbling to know that these singers can do that, to sing the choruses so beautifully as they do, but also to step forward and give really, really excellent performances of the arias.
You must feel like a chef, selecting all these incredible ingredients, and then you get to decide. I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches, the
I
talent
was
that's
just
in the
about to say
choir.
that same phrase, an embarrassment of riches, in a sense. I mean, it's really, really extraordinary. And so it's also neat then to be able to, year to year, as we do this Messiah, almost annually, to be able to sort of turn things, to make some different choices, and let other people shine at different times, with different arias. So
So how do you prepare the choir for this? So you'll have a very small number of people who will be completely new to Elora Singers and performing Messiah, and then
right.
you've got some who've been with you for many years
Yep.
and who who understand the approach and the interpretation. And so how do you prep the choir for this each year?
It's a great question. Very quickly is really the answer. And the great thing with Messiah is that it is familiar to almost everybody. The difficult thing with Messiah is that it's very familiar to almost everybody, right? And so in the course of a year, or in the course of the next 3 months or three weeks, these many of these singers will sing Messiah with us in the Elora Singers, in London, and we do it on our own series in Fergus, closer to home, and then they'll be singing Messiahs with other ensembles, either as soloists or in the choir, wherever else they sing. And of course, we all do it a little bit differently. And so, as I prepare the choir, I just have, one or two rehearsals to really kind of get them on the same page with me, to make sure that we're thinking about articulation in the same way. We're thinking about the runs, the coloratura, the fast bits, in the same way, or the text, the way we want to shape the text and phrase the text in the same way. And so that has to be really kind of done quite quickly, and
Mm.
it comes together. It congeals really fast, but we don't have a lot of time to do that. So it's kind of unlearning all of the other messiahs that they've sung or will be singing in the next 3 weeks, and just kind of focusing on
Yeah.
this articulation and
Listen
this
to me, listen
interpretation.
to me.
Yeah, that's right. But we've done this now several years in a row, and so there's a bit of a groove that we get into pretty quickly. That's quite exciting.
Do you use this is totally nerdy, but like, do you guys use do you have your own set of choral scores that you then
Yeah,
distribute, or do they come with their own that's marked upon?
that's a great question. I mean, so many of our singers now use iPads to sing from, and so there's a bit of a magic there, because you can start with a fresh score, or you can actually save. Here's Mark Vuorinin's 2023 2024 Messiah, and save that as a as a kind of a one version, and then take a different version to a different conductor, and that can work. But the truth is, most singers come with these dog-eared, old, very beloved books in their hand. The cover's ripped off, and the pages are falling apart, because they've sung it so many times. And the danger there is they've got so many markings in there that who knows which performance they belong to. So again, you got to kind of just focus it down, and then on the day be really really clear about what it is you're looking for.
Well, I think the only solution is for you to buy iPads for every one of your singers, and then
it,
problem solved.
it's been suggested.
I'll tell you when I win the lottery.
Exactly right.
Mark, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me today. I can't wait to work on this incredible epic piece with you. This is Messiah, being performed by the London Symphonia and the Elora Singers on November 30th at Metropolitan United. Thanks again, Mark.
Great to be here, Andrew. Can't wait to be with you next week.